Have a Nice Death is a modern rogue type that is a great start into the genre, while still providing a good challenge for hardened veterans. With some real charm on its animations and designs, what might put off some people is the basic level structure and the mild humor that comes from the afterlife as a corporate structure setting, while the gameplay offers enough variety to make it worth a couple hours of runs until you get to the end and see most of the unique content. I am known to dabble on rogue types from time to time. I played a lot of Rogue Legacy, Spelunky, Risk of Rain, and Binding of Isaac. Well, at least the original Flash one. Now it just seems like a clusterfuck to know which one to pick up. Thinking about it now, all of those have sequels that I never picked up for some reason. I heard back then that on the surface they weren't quite on par with the originals, and I didn't have time to check it out myself, so the moment just came and went. All of this to say that I haven't been on par with recent rogue types, so I don't know how they've been evolving in the meantime. Still haven't picked up Dead Cells or Hades either, but I'm sure those two are gonna continue being great games, so I'm not in a hurry to get to them. Back to the topic. Have a Nice Death released first on Early Access a year ago, but I still managed to not know of its existence until recently, so I can't comment on the state of the game before this full release. And yeah, this sure is a rogue type. If you are somehow not familiar to the genre, welcome to 2023. We still don't have flying cars and the future looks quite grim, so I urgently recommend you to go back to the rock you've been under all of this time, as it's probably better down there. If you're brave enough to stay here, at least let me clue you in on this specific type of electronic video game. You start with some bare-bone abilities, go through some randomly generated levels, kill enemies and face bosses to get better perks and equipment, trying not to die and lose all of your current loot, all while picking away at more permanent unlocks that further help you at reaching the end, in a mixture of luck and the strength of your perseverance. In your permanent arsenal, you got a basic attack in form of a scythe, where in each new run you are offered a slightly different alternative, like a pair of sickles that trade power for speed, or one of those chain sickles that ninjas use. Included in the moveset is also a rechargeable special attack that is unique to each weapon or sub-weapon that you are using, so if anything, you are given some incentive to try new weapons, at least to see how the special looks like. Sub-weapons are by themselves divided into spells, which consume your rechargeable mana, and cloak attacks, which are on a cooldown. You can get those from random loot you're rewarded after each battle room, or you can buy them at the shop. Sometimes you are also given the opportunity to get a perk from a tree that is divided into 3 categories, with stuff like element infusions on side attacks or raising your maximum HP for each new floor. Each unique area is divided into a string of multiple floors with different rewards, so you at least have some control over the type of loot you get on the way to the boss. This has me wonder about the percentage of people that just constantly restart runs until they get the best outcome earlier and don't even try to challenge themselves with the items that the game gives them.
Nerf this!
Wouldn't blame them this time, cause you can get a rocket launcher here, which is just great. Sometimes you just need to RPG a motherfucker, you know? But yeah, that's basically the gist of it. Where Nice Death might be lacking on a complex gameplay, it is certainly chock full of dialogue. You would think that after the tutorial, they will relax on it and let the world speak for itself, but nope. Every time you die it seems that some NPC has something new to say, most of it coated in a humor that falls flat every time, at least for me. This even extends to bosses, which have a close to infinite amount of different lines to say every time you fight them. I guess this explains how the voices are just incoherent mumblings. This certainly has no budget for voicing all of this. I just wish that they could let you skip all of the dialogue, not just the one you already seen, as there is a point where I just want to play without interruptions. I get that the focus here is in the world building, with all of the unique dialogue and the different codex entries that you unlock throughout your playthrough, explaining your surroundings as you encounter them, but if you just want to play a gameplay focused game, this is probably not the best option. The art style does somehow remind me of Rayman Origins, something that is shared to the other title from the team, so I think it's safe to say that this is a game made by artists first, which is further supported by the fact that this is being powered by Unity. That might also have a part on how all of the level layouts are so boring, with everything made out of straight lines. As for other questionable details, you can choose between a random choice of reward specific floors, but the same applies to the new areas after you kill a boss, where each choice upgrades a specific category of the perk tree, with the problem being how specific perk categories are locked to the specific areas, so after falling into a certain playstyle, all I would see is the same areas, something that became tedious really fast. Some of the concept names and fancy terminology often had me confused too, like how menus would talk about, for example, anima, which still took a second for me to acknowledge that they were talking about the healing potions. Like, I get it, it's dressing up to fit the theme, but some of the terms are so disconnected from what they are that it gets confusing when they are used in sentences where there are multiple cases of this together. Another example is how I forgot that the perks were called curses, because later some of these have penalties associated with them and I misunderstood what was what. So when I got a card that was used to reroll curses, I thought it was just a penalty, not the entire perk, as you would instantly associate curse with the bad part of something. Something I should also mention is the music. Maybe this is just something inherent to the genre, but as you're going to play the same levels repeatedly, the music is bound to get tiring, so I usually just turn it off and put my own playlist after a while. I do always give it an honest chance, but after just 1 hour I wasn't impressed with what I heard here. To not end on a bad note, I like how the permanent unlock system works, with each one costing a certain value, but if you complete the associated challenge, you can basically get it for free, giving the player the choice to get something earlier if they choose. Terrible name aside, Have a Nice Death tallies up to be a by-the-numbers rogue type with the usual perks and caveats, so if the setting interests you and you're somehow not burned out of the genre, I would recommend it. By the time of this record, it's available on Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam. While I'm still on topic, I just want to say how disappointed I am with Enter the Gungeon. From the moment I saw it, I was sure I was gonna love it, only to drag my feet to 100% completion when they gave it away for free a few years back. There's just something about it that makes me hate it now, and I'm not planning on ever going back to it. I have double of the playtime on Risk of Rain, and I still like to go back to it from time to time, so it's not a question of burnout. Maybe it's because the runs take way too long to get interesting, even in Rainbow runs. All the base weapons feel way too weak, and that goes for most of the gun combos. Maybe just me, which is a shame because the whole concept of the gun to kill the past is on several different levels of cool. Maybe I should try Risk of Rain too. Or maybe not. Back to the original then.